Guy lights his pipe, gets ready to spin a yarn. Nah, but check it. I had to tell y'all about this new joint that I read. Alright, before we get into that though, this is New Comic Book Day Indie Reviews every Wednesday on the Sixth Element of Hip Hop. Join me every Wednesday. We're going to talk about the new books that came out that day, but the indies, not the Marvels, not the DCs, not the Image. If you want those reviews, go watch every other YouTube comic channel there is, because that's what everyone does, and for good reason. I mean, that's where all the views are going to come from. That's, you know, the popular stuff. A lot of them are films, you know, people that aren't even into comics know about the stuff, so you know, it's the obvious go-to. But as a purveyor of a channel called Sixth Element of Hip Hop that caters to both hip hop and comics, I tend to try to fill the void of a niche. Okay, so the indie comic is something that gets overlooked a lot, you know, on these channels, and it's a shame because these books are phenomenal. I'm talking about brilliant writing, mind-blowing art, just amazing stories, plots, characters, dramas, any kind of horror, sci-fi, it's all there in the indie comics. It's not just post-apocalyptic stories, but those are some of the best ones. There's lots of those too, but there's lots of superhero joints, there's lots of love stories, drama. I mean, anything you can imagine, anything you can find a novel about, there's an indie comic for it. Anything you're into, there's an indie comic for it. So it hit me. New Comic Book Day reviews, indie comics. So here we go. And I had a list put together of all the indie comics that were coming out Wednesday, and out of them all, you know, I chose maybe 5 or 6, 7 titles that I thought would be interesting to read, that I would like to review. So I have my little list, and I'm, you know, going through them, getting the digital comics down so I can read them and do the reviews. Because right now, by the way, I do not have a source for the physical floppy comics early. You got to get these early before the day that they come out so you can read them, review them, and do a video. Right now I don't have that source yet, so if you're watching and you got a way for me to get the floppies, the physical comics, before the day they drop, maybe you own an LCS or you work at a local comic shop or you got the hookup somehow, hit me up, let me know, because I definitely need that hookup. But in the meantime, I do get all the digital versions days early, so I have plenty of time to read them, do reviews, put videos out that'll pop Wednesday, the day they drop in the store, so you can get the information day one. Right now, if you're watching this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please remember, when you subscribe, hit that notification bell, but then you have to select all, right? Don't just leave it on personal. You gotta select all, or YouTube is not gonna send you the notifications when the new videos drop. Some people don't know that, so hit the like button, subscribe, select all, share the video, and please leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the content. Let me know what you think about the video that I'm talking about right now, what you think about the channel, what you think about me. You love me, you hate me, whatever. Leave a comment, let me know, you know, so I can work on it. Plus, that YouTube algorithm picks up on that too, so we want to push this channel to the most people possible so we can get this dope information out. And that's my goal, you know, to sort of educate and bring, you know, comics to the light, especially for hip-hop heads, because most hip-hop heads don't realize all the MCs and producers are major comic collectors, major comic nerds. But it seems like the people that listen to hip-hop, they don't get that. If you're not into comics, you not hip-hop. Trying to bring y'all to the fold, man, so you can join the ranks of the real hip-hop heads, reading comics and getting it in like that. So again, New Comic Book Wednesdays. Here we go, indie reviews. I'm looking at my list, and I get to this one comic that's called We Only Find Them When They're Dead. That's the name of the comic. And I've been hearing a lot about this for a while. A lot of good things, a lot of hype about it. And so I'm interested, but it's issue number 6. Now I like to review from issue number 1 because it's hard to review a comic that's so far down the line. You really don't know what's going on in the comic. So it's hard to give an honest review. It's hard to know how well they did or how good the story is developing or whatnot if you don't know the story up to that point. So this is an issue number 6, but I really wanted to do this title because, again, I've been hearing about it. I love sci-fi. It's supposed to be the dope sci-fi comic, indie comic that's out right now. So I've got to read issue 1 through 5 before I can review issue 6 for today. So I go to start reading issue. Well, I realize, okay, I'm gonna have to read 5 issues before I can even read the issue that I got to review for today. I kind of got my stuff going on late, so I was a little late to the party as far as, you know, getting my comics in time to be able to read them and review them and do a video. I'm doing this last minute, trying to cram this in here so that I can start this Wednesday new comic book day indie review show, because I just really want to start it because it's dope. So I'm like, boom, I got to read all 5 comics. Let me get this part out of the way because it's going to probably take the most time before I go jumping into the other titles. And I start reading issue 1. Before I know it, it's the last page. I'm like, whoa, like page turner, right? It's just no time at all. I'm breezing through issue 2, issue 3. I'm like, man, this is something else. All right, the art in this thing, game changing, bro. Simone DeMeo is on art on this comic. This cat is changing the game. He's changing the way panels are done. All right, it's not just the grid pattern rectangles with, you know what I mean, maybe you get a splash page or something like that. He's throwing all that out the window, right? He's redoing the way panels are drawn. He's got angles. He's throwing them in sideways, this way, that way, upside down. Like, just amazing artwork. He's got this dope style where each panel that is talking about each character has a sort of a color tone to it, right? So everything about this character in the panel is going to have maybe an orange tone, and this character is going to have maybe a purple tone, and this guy's got a red tone. So each image, you know who they're talking about because the art is just amazing, man. It's like, I can't even describe it to you, so I'm gonna have pictures up here. You see the pictures right here, you can see what's going on, man. It's bananas. Like, again, game changer, new style. I'm loving it. Writing on this, forget about it. Al Ewing, I've been telling y'all about Al Ewing. I've been telling y'all about Immortal Hulk. If you're not reading Immortal Hulk, you're not doing comics right. If you're not reading We Only Find Them When They're Dead, you're not doing comics right. Al Ewing is one of the most brilliant authors. It's not just that he's intelligent. The way this dude weaves a story, the way he flips it, it's like, it's cinematic, but it's dramatic, and it's got a thriller aspect to it. It's just, man, it's just next. It's not what you think of when you think of a comic book. And that's why I want y'all to get into these indies, okay? Because there's the sort of the way of making a comic book, and you've got the superhero and he's doing his thing, and the villain's talking about what he's gonna do, and you know how you can't beat him, and explaining his whole plan, and then the superhero comes. You know, it's all very basic, it's all very similar, you know, up through the 80s for sure, somewhat into the 90s, and where it started to get more art based. In the 90s, comics got really, you know, beautiful looking. You had Todd McFarlane's and your Rob Liefeld's and your Jim Lee's, and, you know, coming in and just like changing the game art wise. And it was very action driven. Everything was boom, 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 action, action, action. And then come to the 2000s, we start getting deep writing. We start getting dramatic. We start getting literature. You know what I mean? We start, and these indies again are running the game as far as I'm concerned. Marvel and DC have not figured this out. They have not got this locked. Either that, or they just want to keep it superficial. They want to keep it easy. They want to keep it commercial. They want to make sure the masses, you know, can consume it. So in order to make the masses consume it, they keep it very simple, very basic. It's obvious. So, but they're not getting it. The indie titles, the indie publishers, they're hiring amazing writers. They're hiring brilliant artists, and these guys are just coming through, like I said, changing the game. So back to We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I'm reading through it. I'm issue 3, issue 4. This is a phenomenal story, like mind-blowing stuff, man. Like it's way in the future where humankind is spacefaring. We're out in the stars where we got all kind of spaceships. We do all kinds of manufacturing and mining and all that stuff in space. And they're not mining asteroids. What they're mining are the bodies of dead gods. These giant beings, like the size of, in Marvel, they would be like celestials. You know, and it's very reminiscent of Nowhere and Guardians of the Galaxy, how they got the head of the celestial and they mine it, and, you know, for resources and whatnot. And so It's very reminiscent of that, but there's these huge gods, full bodies, and they come in with their ships and laser cutters, and they cut pieces of the body off. They cut, the meat, the eyes, the organs. They harvest all this for resources. And I guess it feeds the people. It's got chemical properties. It's got manufacturing properties. It's basically, it is the substance that runs the galaxy at the moment. They've only ever seen these gods, these celestial giant beings floating in space, dead. So that's why it's called, we only find them when they're dead, because they've never seen one of these things alive. And the premise in the beginning is you've got this one crew that they're one of the crews that go out and harvest, parts from the bodies. The leader of the captain of the ship, he's tired of it. This existence, he's just living to live, monotonous, no meaning. And ever since he was a kid, 5 years old, when he saw his first god, he's always wanted to see one alive. And so he's got it in him that he's gonna find a live one day. But the problem is, because of the value of these resources that they mine off these gods, each mining ship that goes out has an escort that's a fighter, like a fighter ship. And this thing, it can outrun anything, outshoot anything. It's a fighter, but it's an escort for that mining ship to protect it from being, robbed, pirated, whatever, but also to stop it from filling up its hull with god parts and dipping, not taking it back to, the company or the civilization or whoever, owns that. And so each mining team has this fighter ship that escorts them. Every now and then you've got some tool that decides we're gonna make a run for it. They fill up the ship and they're gonna haul, and of course the fighter jet always blows them up, just shoots them down. They get like 2 warnings. Look, you're leaving the space, are you doing some maneuvering, or are you trying to run? Like, we're giving you a warning. So if they don't listen, if they keep pushing, they get evaporated. But the captain of this one ship that we're focused on, he's got a plan. Of course, he knows how he's gonna do it, but he don't want to steal nothing. He don't want to fill up the ship and take off with god parts. He wants to take off and just go out into space, explore, like go way off uncharted territory to try to find a god that's alive. So, but they don't, no one knows that. So when, they go to take off, they get that warning, but they've already got a head start. He figured out, he planned, he had a diversion, a distraction. So boom, he hits into warp drive and he's gone. They can't get him. But the fighter that is escorting him has been watching him for decades. She's got a grudge because way in their past, her fiance was the captain's brother. She's a cop. Now they're kind of a family of hustlers, thieves, criminals, whatnot. So, but they mine as well. So the captain's mother, brother, him, they're a family of miners. They mine, and the brother happened to get into the relationship with this cop woman. The captain of the ship, back when they were young, had the idea, if my brother's on the ship and she's escorting us and we take off, she's not gonna shoot us down. That's her fiance on the ship. But every time we go out or she's escorting, the brother makes sure he's not on the cruise ship for that reason. And so they work it out. But this time the captain, he has a plan, and he tells the brother, look, man, I got food poisoning. I'm down. I can't do my shift today. You got to cover for me. So the brother don't think nothing of it. He's like, man, all right, whatever, bro. I'll cover. So now he's out there, and the captain knew that in that situation, his mother would realize, he's on the ship with us. If we take this load, she not gonna shoot my son down, her fiance. Now the captain didn't tell the mom this plan or nothing. He just knew. He knew how they thought. So he knew that if he put them in that situation, it would take care of itself. Of course it does. The mom's like, nah, we gotta do this. And of course the brother's like, nah, man, nah, what are you doing? And the escort, she's like, hey, what are y'all doing? Like, are y'all getting ready to dip? Like, I'm supposed to only give y'all 2 warnings. What are you guys doing? Don't put me in this position. With that, the brother and the mom, they're arguing over whether or not they're gonna take off. The mom's gonna do it. The brother's like, nah. He jumps over. They scramble. They fight over the controls, and the ships collide. The freighter just collides with the fighter because the fighter ship came in way too close, because she's trying to give them every last warning because she don't want to, she's not going to blow up her fiance. She's not. So they get too close. The ships crash, explode. Everyone's killed except for the cop fiance. She survives, and now she's got a grudge for that brother who's now the captain of, the main crew of our story. And so she's out there, and she's got her eye on him. She knows he's going to do something one day, and she wants revenge because she holds him responsible for getting her fiance killed, his brother, his mother, by the way. So, obviously he didn't purposely get them killed, but she don't care. They see it how she see it. So they get on the time warp speed. They're getting ready to dip, and she's following them, and Control's like, hey, what are you doing? You can't follow him into warp. Like, what are you doing? He's gone. He got away. Let him go. We'll deal with it when he comes back. He's got to come back. We'll just kill him then. She don't listen. She hops into the warp zone and hops in behind him. And so they're both going warp speed, through space. The captain and the crew, they realize that she's behind them, and she got into the warp zone with them, which is apparent, that's crazy. You don't do that, right? So then they're on comms, they're talking to each other, and he's telling her, go back, you're going to get killed. It ain't worth it. And our engines are gonna burn out. We can't just go light speed forever. But if I drop out of light speed, you're gonna blow me up. So I'm gonna have to keep going. And if you keep following me, one of our engines is gonna go out, and we're gonna turn into a singularity and become little black holes and die. But then he has a plan. So he realizes, boom, when we're out there mining, we've got the God body that's there that gives us a gravitational pull, and that helps our ship to be able to maneuver, because we're, these cargo ships, these mining ships, they're not really maneuverable. They could definitely never do anything with no fighter, but they need that gravitational pull of the God body. So on the radar, he notices we got a mass coming up. Maybe it's a missing planet, a loose planetoid or an asteroid, something, but it's a large mass, which means gravity, which means we can drop out here and use this to kind of stand our ground, make our stand. So they fall out of hyperspace to get to this gravitational pull. And of course, what do you know? It's a god, seemingly dead, right? They pull off, and they're getting in position, and the god wakes up. It's not dead. It was asleep. Light blasts out of his eyes, out of his mouth. It's coming awake. You know what I mean? And they're like, whoa, like, we're here. With that, cop chick fighter comes in, and now they got to deal with that. Certain people die. Certain people live. Bananas. That's issue 1 through 5. Okay, now that gets us up to where we are now, and this is issue 6 that this review is on, because issue 6 will drops today, and so this is the review is on issue 6, but I had to bring myself up to speed, and I'm bringing y'all up to speed so that we can do that. So just to recap, 50 years have passed since the Captain Malik and the crew of the Vihan 2 embarked on their fateful mission, and the universe has changed in ways no one ever expected. Jason Howard, one of the fated Vihan 2 crew, is now 71 years old and living life on the razor's edge between the harvesters and the worshippers. But as these rival religious factions clash throughout the galaxy, Jason finds himself thrown into the center of the chaos and is forced to confront his tortured past. But the only people who can help Jason have their own secret agenda, one that may bring him face to face with Captain Malik in ways beyond comprehension. Because Captain Malik came back in issue 6 all these decades later as a god. So now the captain from issues 1 through 5, just a regular guy, when they dealt with that living god for the first time, something happened. We don't see it, but something happened. He was surrounded by a whole bunch of gods that were alive, and whatever happened turned him into a god. So he comes floating back into, human the human world where they mine gods, and gods have been real scarce, ever since he did that, ever since they made that jump and tried to find the living god. The dead bodies ain't been around, and so they kind of start to realize, and they have many religions and people that believe different things about these gods, and they start to realize maybe these gods were sending us these bodies to help us survive, giving us as resources, and now they're not sending them. And with that, the captain, who's now the god, comes in and they're gonna mine it. So and again, don't expect issues to what happened at the end of issue 5, because if that's what you're waiting for, you're in for a let. The new arc kicks off by showing the consequences of the events of the last issue and the end of the first arc for the galaxy on the human side of things, while also serving to set up the next installment of this series. It's a different galaxy we find ourselves in as Al Ewing rockets us forward to 50 years after the events of the last arc. Things have changed. Humanity, because of what Malik and his crew did, the universe has been living, they've seen a living god, right? However briefly, and now that dead god wears the face of the believed deceased Captain Malik, and the repercussions have a profound effect on humankind. And for me, the best sci-fi stories examine the consequences or effects of significant events in a futuristic setting on humanity and how humanity reacts to those events. Ewing does this remarkably well. Malik and his crew's actions have spawned an entire religion on the fringes of the galaxy, where the last god appeared wearing Malik's face, and an entire colony is sprung up around the last dead god. Added to this, the gods are no longer appearing, and so humanity has had to adapt to living without those resources that they would mine from these dead bodies. So life has changed for humans. Like it changed a whole lot, and this sets the stage for the storyline of this new arc. And in this new issue, it's years have gone by, and the only familiar character is going to be Jason Howard. The idea of the oppositional harvesters versus worshippers, the idea of humanity's ability to take the unexplainable events and cobble a religion out of those events, the nature of man's greed when it comes to any finite resource, and the need to possess and be in control of that resource. All of these things are explored in this comic, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like this thing is deep. It's not, we're talking about major world building happening here. Al Ewing creates this, amazing landscape. And of course, the first arc it was intensely focused around Malik and his crew. Now, this new arc that it's starting in issue 6 expands past that to deal with the impact of the actions of those individuals had on society at large. The idea of the fringes of the galaxy and the beliefs that spring up there. There's an expansion in world building happening here as Ewing crafts this landscape. The first arc was intensely focused on Malik and the crew, while this new arc expands past that to deal with the impact of the actions of that crew, the impact that it's had on society at large. The art in issue 6 continues to blow the mind. Simone DeMayo's ability to capture the majesty and scale of space, as well as being able to focus your eye on the subject of what he wants you to follow on the panel, is unparalleled. I've never seen, like I said, game changing. He moves between tightly focused paneling to these broad, magnificently scaled splashes, which enhance the spectacle of everything you're looking at, whatever it happens. And then you've got the coloring from Miyagi, which are basically two-tone, and you have a futuristic feeling comic with an almost Tron-like feel to it. Every character has their own sort of color tone, so it's amazingly beautiful and gorgeous, while at the same time extremely efficient, tells the story very well, and does not take you out of the story but draws you in. Very immersive, almost like a film, better than a movie. Like a dream, like an imagination. Just mind-blowing. You've got to see it. This issue number 6 is a great example of Ewing's ability to world build, expanding on the first arc with almost a new cast, and not seeming like it's a new comic or a new story, bringing it right together. Just absolutely amazing. Brilliant writing, mind-blowing art. It's such a good story. So again, we only find them when they're dead. Issue number 6 dropped today. Go get issue 1 through 5. You will not regret it. This is one of the best stories in comics right now. One of the best titles that's popping, no question. And I want y'all to experience that too. You know what I mean? It's a lot of fun. So please leave a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about this video, what thoughts you might have on the book, on the comic that I'm reviewing, what ideas you might have for the future, anything at all. Just leave a comment. Let me know you were here. Let me know you enjoyed it or you didn't enjoy it, what you liked, what you didn't like. Subscribe, hit that like button, share the video, and I will see y'all Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Hip Hop and Comics with my dog Stu Dog, DJ Tiger, Probably Cooks 24 gonna be there. It's gonna be live. We might even have Spadeonomics on the joint. So every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hip hop and comics here on the Sixth Element of Hip Hop. Now every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New Comic Book Day, indie reviews, Sixth Element of Hip Hop, Reno Noir. Peace.